G'day my friends, Marty here from Marty's Garden, back again. Yep, with another video. We've been talking a lot about cost of living crisis and the food crisis oncoming, and my answer, the Victory Garden, to help you get more sustainable and actually productive in your own yard and save some bucks and stay healthy. But today I want to share a story because everyone loves a hero, including me. I love heroes. We all do. We all love those stories. Now Australia has a ton of great stories about heroes, but generally in the war and things like that. But we had really good leaders at certain times. And at the moment, I believe that we've probably got some of the worst leaders around that I've seen in my lifetime, or since I've been following politics and really taking a deeper dive into it, just because of really cost of living. I think when everything's going so good and so great, we don't seem to worry about it as much. We're just like, oh yeah, everything's cool, you know, we'll just do whatever we're doing, sort of thing. But there's been times in Australia where everything wasn't cool. You know, we had the Great Depression here as well, and we had a couple of wars, you know. And my family actually have got a military background. My grandfather fought in World War One and World War Two. In World War One, he was a drummer boy, I believe, went in very young. And my dad was in the Navy. My brother is in the Army for life. He's a lifer, he's still in it. And he's a contractor now, I believe. My nephew is in the Army band. And yeah, me, not so much. I nearly joined the reserves once, but didn't really work out for me. I think I didn't really want it. It was just something like had nothing to do. But anyway, that's a whole other story. Heroes. Now Aussies are battlers, man. We have a history of known for battlers and mateship. Now, during World War II, when the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor and stuff, you don't really see many movies about Darwin. They hammered Darwin hard, right? They wanted Australia because we've got a lot of resources. We've got a ton of resources here, and Japan didn't have a lot of resources. They had a problem. They had a growing population at that time, and they didn't have a lot of resources, and they wanted the resources from Southeast Asia right down through into Australia. But they didn't know that we had big crocodiles and all that big scary stuff. They didn't have the type of intel that they can get today. And they didn't know about Australian mateship, the good old Aussie battler that would stand by his friend and his family and his country no matter what. Now, I feel that, to be honest, with this whole woke agenda and everything like that, and the dehumanizing of people recently, and softening the male, and making us sort of weaker, and not having the strength of standing by your mates. I remember when I was younger, it was very, very important, and I believe that this still exists, but we're not bringing it up enough to help us get through these tough times, because having your mates around you is a big thing. Now, on the Kokoda Trail, if you don't know the history of Kokoda Trail, I believe you should go back and have a look in New Guinea, where the Japanese were moving through the Kokoda Trail from the north, trying to get south down into the major city over these mountain ranges and hill ranges and things like that. And we didn't have a big population, and our army was sort of sparsed all over the place through Southeast Asia and things. Now, I'm not a historian, so there's some things I may get wrong, but I want to talk about the mateship that we had and why it worked. So, some great stories. You've got to watch the movie Kokoda Trail if you can get hold of it, right? The Aussie one. Anyway, the Japanese are coming up through the jungle, right? And they had thousands of them, and we didn't have that many, you know. I think we had something like a quarter or 1/10 of the Japanese forces that were moving through the jungle at that time. And the Aussies were like, we can't let them in. If they get through to Port Moresby, we're stuffed. They'll get into Australia, and they'll take over Australia, and Australia will be run by Japan, and we'll lose Australia, my friends. You've got to fight. And when they interviewed these guys, they said, what were you fighting for? They said, not only was I fighting for Australia, I was fighting for my mates. I was sticking up for my mates. I was with my mates. And anyway, a really smart guy, one of the Australians, he decided that they would sneak in at night and start killing off Japanese that were camped along the trail. They would sneak in there and do crazy stuff and make them really scared and introduce a lot of fear and pass on this fear that the Aussies were just ruthless, just fearless, and just so that when the Japanese were walking up through the through the forest, through the jungle, they were like, oh, well, one of these Aussies is going to come out and get me. Yep. And they got together as mates, stuck together. Malaria, full on, just mozzies all around, not enough food, not enough water, not enough everything, you know. But they stuck by their mates and they ended up winning. They pushed them back. They didn't get to Port Moresby and they never got to Japan. I mean, they never got to Japan, they never got to Australia. So where's the moral to this whole story really is that we're going through a different sort of crisis at the moment. It's not a war, so to speak. They're talking about them. They're possibly around the corner in different areas, and they are at the moment as we speak. And I've got to be careful talking about stuff like this because, you know, you can get cut off and things like that, and or they'll demonetize or whatever your videos. So I don't want to get too much into that conversation. But we have a different type of battle that's going on here in Australia, an economy, food, and which is turning into social. These are all crises around that's unfolding at the moment. And I believe that we need to find new ways to come together as families, as friends, as mates, start working together and looking at ways you can do things together. Because when you have 2 or 3 people together, you can get a lot more done than when on your own. So I'm putting that out there for you to talk to your mates, get to your friends, get to your families, and go, how do we put our heads together and get through these solutions and do it in a relaxed environment so you can think about it. Create a leader in your group, decide who that leader is going to be, whether it be in the family, it could be the head of the house, the father, or with your mates, and go, hey, let's decide to do this. Could be maybe you're going to go to the council and say, hey, we're going to start a hot dog store and we're going to move it through at night when everyone comes out of the pub because there's no food around. A friend of mine did that. He built a house in Byron Bay doing that. He had hot dog stands in Byron in the 90s in Byron Bay because there was no food around those days. We used to have to knock on, we'd come out of the pub and there was a little bakery and we'd have to knock on the door on the back of the sliding door. They go, what do you want? What do you want? We go, I just had a few beers and everything's closed and we're really hungry. We just want to have a meat pie. Go away. Bang, bang. Go away. Bang, bang. All right then. Until eventually to this day, that same bakery is open nearly 24/7 now. Because it was us younger guys that had been out and had a couple of beers through the night. We wanted something to eat. My friend Dave, he bought out hot dogs. He's American, of course. Started selling them in the street. So there are ways around it, guys. Forward thinking, create little mini economies around you, support your local businesses, and start turning over the cash where you live and not putting it in big corporate pockets, and get productive, guys. Even if it's just a little farm like this, which I call the Victory Garden, which you'll see around here if you haven't been watching the series, one of the cards, and you can watch that and start learning how to grow food at home, or just check out the channel because there's heaps there. All right, have a great day. Take it out to your mates for me. Did love that story. I just love that story about Kokoda, and I'll see you at the next video real soon. God bless and bye for now. Oh, there's a hand. Oh, bye.